Hello, all. Um, Welcome back. We are continuing with our weekly portion review. And this week we are in the portion of Noah, the famous story of Noah and the flood, the ark, and of course the Tower of Babel. Generally speaking, in the book of Genesis, the fantastic book of Genesis, we have all these amazing, amazing stories. And we're still in the beginning of humanity. And the human collectives are really defined by a unifying criteria. And when this criteria changes, obviously the collective identity and even the designation also shifts accordingly. And in our portion, we find these terms of families and nations, and they're used one after the other, right? So towards the end of this portion in Genesis 10:31, where the verse says, "There are descendants. These are the descendants of Shem, according to their families, their tongues, in their lands, by their nations." Right. So we see both of these terms come up, and the distinction between these terms to me seems quite glaring because peace is actually usually presumed between families, with war being the exception. And in contrast, the national identity or the nation, what in Hebrew we call the goy, acts more like a microcosm of humanity, and it's really introducing the concept of the other as an external to the national unity, and therefore it is a potential threat or an enemy. And between nations, actually, war is the usual state, with peace in this case being the anomaly, right? As we even see Isaiah in a novel way saying that nation shall not lift up sword against nation, right? In the end of days, that's what we hope for, but that's the novel statement. So we have to focus a little and try to figure out what is the root of difference between these two terms. And the verse and the text actually explain that when the defining criteria of the group is their tongues, meaning their culture, this is really pertaining to the concept of family. But when we're talking about the territory, when it's defined by territory in their lands, this is really relating to the concept of or the term of the nation. And really, against that backdrop of humanity, we realize its descent from families to nations. And there are two attempts to really emerge and try to solve this problem of potential war. One is the Tower of Babel, and the other one is the selection of Abraham. Famously, one fails, and the other one seems to be the ideal. Now, the Tower of Babel was really an attempt to erase the human difference, and we see that in Hebrew it says safacha, right? One language. And notice it says language and not one tongue. Tongue really implying like the inner content, and language is really signifying more of an outer expression, one of more of this cosmopolitan attitude, which is really looking to like erase individuality, and it replaces the human value with a human endeavor instead, right? The tower. Now, on the flip side, divine revelation, rather than actually erasing the individual, instead it actually amplifies the individual's uniqueness to a point where he can't even understand the other one's language at that point, right? And hence the famous reason why the tower falls apart, right? No one could understand each other anymore. Now, in this way, humanity is actually saved from the hell of uniformity. And now, following this failed attempt in Babel, right? Abraham's mission only starts. It actually begins at this point, and it's not to abolish nations, but rather it's to restore them to their ancient state of families, what they were originally. And to achieve this, an additional nationality, a great nation, must be established. And really, with the purpose of undoing the nationalization of humanity and restoring the familial bonds, as God tells Abraham ultimately, and he promises to him, and all the families of the earth shall be blessed through you. And what he's saying is, and what the meaning is here, that the nation of Israel is really the only legitimate nationality. And unlike other nations, it really aims to mend the world, or famously known as Tikkun Olam. And we see this also in the prophet Zechariah, right? He foresees, as he says in Zechariah 14:16, all who survive of all the nations that came against Israel. And then he continues in verse 17 and 18, will transfer them into families. How? These nations will transfer into families. How? And if any family of the earth does not go up, and if the family of Egypt does not go up, right? So instead of a cosmopolitan path seeking uniformity and the conquering of nationalism of other nations, there will actually be will arise a unity that amplifies and uplifts all peoples, each really with its own uniqueness, right? We're not trying to, it's unity through multiplicity. And as Isaiah says, ultimately, to the mount of the Lord, to the house of God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his path. For Torah shall go forth from Zion, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. I wish us all a Shabbat Shalom and a weekend of clarity and strength as exciting times are on the horizon. Take care.